right? 3, the those strings there, the thinner ones, they're like the feminine. And then you get 3 masculine. So there's 2 voices, even when you're not fretting the damn thing. And so what actually turns out then is that a chord is actually the marriage of the masculine and the feminine. So it's androgyny. So what we know as a chord is like a hexagram, right? Like the 2 intertwining triangles, but a million different versions of it. But it's the voice or the conversation between the masculine hemisphere and the feminine hemisphere, and it's all language. So when the listener, the player, is involved in a discussion, right? It's a incredible language of which we're all participating, and when you're listening to it, you're listening to the conversation, and it's the highest. It's androgyny. It's the hemispheres, in a kind of a commune, and we know it. See, at the very back of our being is the memory of being able to decode it. What we've been saying in this discussion is that the modern music is the furthest, grossest, orc level grunt, right? It's the most inarticulate grunting that everybody thinks, yeah, this really cool, man. See, so it's like a cry, right? And how can it be without human voice? A cry should be something that the human voice does. A steel string, who would ever imagine? So it's what you're bringing out of your imagination, right? And this facilitates it. But it has the music of the spheres in it. The 5th, 7th, and 12th is where the harmonics are, right?
Yep.
You see, as I say, the masculine and the feminine. It's a hexagram in sound. It's a sonically, mystical experience, and therefore the debauchers of it, they know exactly what they're doing in many ways because they have that high insight, but they've chosen to invert it. I've always said in my other work, that anything that can take the soul up can also bring it down, and people don't understand that. What I meant by that is that the techniques by which one raises their consciousness or purifies themselves, the same tool can be used to do the opposite. You still think you may be getting something out of it. People listening to disco in the 70s were having a good time. People listening to the shash that you have today are believing that they're getting their frustrations out or whatever. There's always going to be a rationale for it. It makes me feel good, right? So there you are, right? They're not taking out a barometer or a measuring device to wonder whether it's good for them or not, in that sense, or whether it has these other qualities. Only very few people in the world have, and even less people have the realization that music or something magical affects you on all levels: physical, spiritual, emotional, and intuitive, and creatively, and all of that. And very few things other than music do that. They can affect you on all those levels. And so when you're trying to work with the instrument is far more the teacher than you are. But where that goes wrong is when you get some nerdy type of person or left brain type of person who this is just dead. This is just a dead thing that their ego is now in charge of. And they're going to, become a shredder, or they're going to just try to impress everybody. And I find that so boring. I'm out of there already. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that everybody who's got a superb technique is like that. Believe me, that's not true. Some of the greatest players are also very egoless people as well. But you know the type I'm talking about, right? Where everything around them is merely to vehiculize, their own sort of ego in a very mundane and idiotic way. And we all know people like that. For me, this has been to ground the ego, to put the ego in its right place hierarchically, so that then other things can fly, other areas of your being can be explored. But yeah, again, it's not just technical. There's a lot of weird symbolism and meaning. 22 frets, 6 strings in one neck. That's 722. That's pi, right? 6 actual strings, but the neck can be considered as sort of a hard string. That's 7 horizontal, and then 22 frets. Don't need to go for any further, right? That's pi, for goodness sake. So again, you're up to something, whether you know it. And here's the beauty of the most spiritual things there are. They don't advertise themselves. People could play a guitar all their lives and never know what we just talked about. And you're not meant to know. It doesn't matter that you know. The greatest things in your life are right in front of your eyes, the great miracles, but you have to create the eyes to see it. What are the four vowels? Does anybody realize what that's all about? Why they're there and what they mean? Nope. But they've used them a million times. That's the difference between seeing and observing. You run up the stairs of your house. How many stairs are there? Well, I don't know. So there's a difference between just seeing and observing. There's a difference between being and just human, or living and existing and being. There's a difference between awareness and consciousness. So yeah, I mean, there's no question that an instrument will help you explore not only your physicality, but your emotionality. And for me, part of that whole learning curve has been very physical. I've said that sort of obliquely in other programs about, shadow work and the nature of the body, right? How that's involved in it. But see, for me, the guitar playing was always demanding far more awareness of body than just fingers moving on the fretboard. For instance, to give you an example, this thumb is so central to guitar playing. For me anyway. For other people who've got much better skill, it might not be the big thing. But see, this was like the sergeant major, that when you're sloppy here, this thumb then becomes the fixed point. And so you have to be conscious of it, right? So not conscious in an exaggerated way, but you have to be sort of feeling that thumb. You've got to be with it. It's not just a dead thing, at the back of the fretboard. It's actually something like a magnet on 2 sides of the table. And you have to be kind of, when you lock into having the thumb, it helps you then. And it helps you fret better. And, like I said, the wood maple became a teacher. And then the thumb became the sergeant major that said, what's all fucking this shit? So it anchored you, Then where's my feet? Where's my spine? What is this? And I'm just looking, for fuck's sake. So you correct yourself, right? You correct your position. Then I went to the eyes. Suddenly the eyes later became a thing about, am I even looking at what I'm doing? No, I'm not. Why am I not? Start fucking being here now, start being here. And are your feet on the ground? Time and time again, they're not. For 30 seconds they are, and then it's back to some, wrong positioning. And so what you do is you start to correct, not in a draconian way, by this classic Western approach of just rote. But you do it because now something else is teaching you, something much higher than your average class teacher at the front, bashing his cane, is teaching. This is the way to do it. You're learning, but you're learning from the right teacher, and you're seeing immediate results, right? So it becomes a discipline thing. Then now you're into a whole discipline, but it's like martial arts discipline. It's the discipline of you being the teacher and the master at the same time, the teacher and the pupil at the same time. How many people know that? How many people know that? So there's certain practices on this planet, and music is one of them, that really is the true disciplining. And so children need to be taught that. Every children should have an instrument. They should obviously have the one they like to play. They should never be forced to play something, they absolutely hate. But they should have some sort of musical instrument or musical interest, because it will teach a lot of other things. It's a whole gymnastics, that one would never ever, and again, I only speak for myself. I was in such a mess, you see, so I had to really correct step by step every muscle, every, it was really an interesting process.